All right, we're live with John. Let me get you, let me get that set up. Well, the last 2 days have been wild. I mean, yesterday we had the craziness with hold on. Yeah, crazy days. The last couple days have been nuts. You've got, the crazy just situation that just happened with, the president of the Ukraine, the president of the United States sitting together in the Oval Office, and the observations on that are crazy. You've got uh, ChatGPT 4.5 coming out, but you can only get it if you pay for the $200 a month thing. Uh, and then you've got all kinds of other interesting ideas. And, every single day there is something that is significantly changing the world. And, we definitely need to figure out how to get all that stuff going because
Yes,
I'm
and,
telling you, this is
every
crazy land. Single day there is something that is significantly changing the world. And, we definitely need to figure out how to get all that stuff going because I'm telling you, this is crazy land.
Yes, and I just want to give an introduction. I am AI John Allen, and you can find me on X and as well as YouTube, and also on Facebook. And my co-host is Andy Wergadal, and Andy is on X and Facebook and Twitch. And we do this show on a regular basis every day, Monday through Friday, and we discuss AI and the news and what's going on. And it's very exciting. Yeah, there's a lot of implications, Andy, about what's going on with with what happened today. I was talking to a friend of mine who's very he's been involved at high levels of politics for his whole life, pretty much, and that's never happened before. There's never been a situation where you had a world leader uh, doing what happened today in public. And so, yeah, we're going to see what how this plays out. It's going to be very interesting. And
Yeah.
yeah, the OpenAI 5.4.5 launch was a big dud from most of the reports I got.
Well, yesterday Claude came out with their 3.7, and today we've got ChatGPT 4.5. We got chips being released. We've got updates happening. We've got uh, what is it? What's that thing called? Hold on. There's an app that Scoble said we should try. Oh, it's called Simple.ai. Simple.ai is like a voice agent. You can call it up and say, hey, call and make a reservation, and it will call somewhere and make a reservation for you. And then yesterday I got an email that said, hey, we have business things where it'll do outbound calling, lead generation, qualifying, help desk, receptionist. It'll do all that stuff together. So that's crazy. And then, it's like everything you can imagine. Okay, in September when we started this, by the way, this is show 80. This is the 80th show that we've done, which is awesome. Congratulations, John. Um, when we started, it was like, we think this stuff's going to happen in like 6 months. And then 2 months later, that stuff showed up. And then we said, okay, another, like the things we're thinking about 2 years from now are going to be 6 months from now. They're 6 weeks away. And sometimes they're working on stuff we haven't even thought of yet. And that we're going to end up going, I wonder if somebody does this. And the next day it's going to be like, boom, here's the press release. They've worked it, they've tested it, and they're ready for commercial production. It's the speed is unbelievable, really unbelievable.
Absolutely. And I was talking to Vladimir yesterday and Sonnen offline, and you know, the idea of Vladimir's AI utility testing metrics, I think I'm going to try to push people to push that in kind of an open source way. We have some people that like to experiment and do things at kind of a high level on this show, and so see if within some people from this space there can be some kind of metric to measure the utility of these AI agents and whatever tools come out of the LLMs. And yeah, in the past day or two, I started going down the rabbit hole of AI search. and how to actually uh, uh, understand for a business or a website or whatever how these AI models are getting to it. I actually got code for it, and I'm going to put it into some sites this week. But yeah, I mean that that discussion, that discussion isn't happening anywhere. It's not on LinkedIn. It's nowhere. And like the amount of money that is involved in determining, what go how is it organic search or direct search to your landing page, and how far the person scrolled down on your page, and conversion rate and phone calls and all that stuff. The money involved in that is monstrous. And the fact that that has not really been defined, Google Analytics constantly pulls things away. In the beginning, there was so much data that you can't even do phone tracking on Google Analytics anymore. But the nice thing is that because of AI, you can build code and use all kinds of different things to do this on your own. So so that's good. But they're going to have to, they have talked that maybe Google Analytics will start to do it. It's not that big of a deal to put that code into a website or whatever. I came up with it, and I'll give you reports next week on how
Well,
well it's working.
I have one of my profiles that I have for search has Perplexity as the standard response, so that when I just type into the the universal URL bar across the top, when I type into that in that profile, it just goes to Perplexity and just gives me an answer. And the only time I switch to Google is when I'm looking for an image or to search for an image or a video. But if I'm just trying to find out what time does the Super Bowl kick off? Hey, what happened with this thing with Zelensky and Trump? And it would just say here, here, here. And I said, well, give me the links, and it'll just give me some links. I can click on them.
Well, uh, I mean
But
but
yeah,
that's interesting, because the thing is one thing that's never been clearly defined, or I have not seen the metrics or the statistics to that, is how much of search is informational search and how much of search is product oriented search. So in other words, like, in the old days with Google, you would, you do a lot of research to figure out what your problem is, give it a name, understand how the solutions are out there, and then define which solution you want to go to, X mechanic, Y mechanic, or Z. But the majority of that was informational. So now you don't have to, you don't necessarily, you don't have to go to these websites, which is a huge detriment for businesses. And the one thing that I found out that was really crazy is with Gemini, now Google, when you Google something, you have Gemini at the top of the search results giving the AI prompt. Well, if you click through that to those sites, Google doesn't even give you that information, but Google knows who's going through Gemini to get to a website. So,
yeah,
and Google puts it on top of everything.
right. But Google
It's
isn't their standard model is to get your eyeballs to see their list so that you can see the ads of the list in order to click on either the ads, the sponsored ads, the promoted ads, or posts. So then you have to scroll past those to get to the rest of the information. When you go with a Perplexity or a Gemini search, it just goes right to the answer, and then it gives the link of where it got the answer from. There's no, unless it does a banner or something, there's no additional click through, there's no additional revenue generated from that. So I think the model is in conflict with what your objective is. Does that make sense?
What do you mean? Which model?
Google's model.
Yeah,
Google's model is to give
that's
you a list of links. Yeah.
that's the thing, is I mean, Google has a lot going on with Gemini and AI and a bunch of stuff that's, big deal. But yeah, I think that their search experience is really lacking, and they really haven't kind of upped their game to be prepared for all this competition. I think the one thing that they have that is quality, that nobody has, is the three pack. When you go and you see the map, and you see the businesses for local search, and then the Google reviews. That's a very good product, right? Or that's a very good uh, product, I guess, of what they have in terms of search. And nobody right now is beating that. But I don't think it would be very hard for any LLM to come up with, to copy that totally. But Google has their proprietary Google reviews, which people, go to a lot, and people depend on to understand which business they want to go to. But yeah,
Yeah.
but besides that, I don't know what Google's offers when it comes to search that has
Well,
any
here,
value.
here's the benefit. Google has massive, we'll get to Giancarlo in a second. Google has massive data sets. They have huge amounts of data storage. They have a huge amounts of scripts that are running and spider botting everything to find it out. I don't know what Perplexity has to either piggyback off that information or extract a data search from their set of data, whether it's a data lake or a set of, cache files or top searches or whatever. But I mean, it's kind of like I look at Google and their data set compared to Tesla and their data set. Tesla's cars have mapped, physically camera mapped more roads, more streets, more alleyways than anybody else by far, 100%. And so they have all that data. And so if you think of Google or Tesla as a data company that has car robots and satellite dishes, and what if you look at them as a data company and all of their other parts are to just provide a massive data set, Twitter, X, you just add it up, it's like this is just a massive data set that they're sharing back and forth. But so does Google, right? Google's been primary search engine, which means they've spidered the whole internet capturing data. They have a massive data. All they have to do is put, okay, like I said before, LLM is just a different front end to Google. It's just giving you the answers instead of a list of questions. Hey, Giancarlo, I see you giving a lot of emojis. What do you think about that?
No, yeah, I think you're absolutely correct in that. I was gonna, you really just took the words right out of my mouth. I mean, Google has the infrastructure, and they have. I like the way that you said that they've spiderwebbed, everything about the internet. At the end of the day, they have not only the brand, trust, and authority of being, you know, the trusted source of holding the internet for the longest time, right? They have the largest index of everything that's going on the internet for the most part now. ChatGPT can never really, keep up with that, nor does it serve their business model. Perplexity, I share your wonder. I don't really know if they can even compare with that, or if they want to. Again, it doesn't really support their business model. The point is that Google, no matter what their, how search impacts, I'm sorry, how AI impacts search, even if ChatGPT was to take up 70% of the search workload overnight somehow, Google would still benefit from all of that traffic in some way, shape, or form in a way that OpenAI just wouldn't be able to do. They would be, even if that were to take place, they would somehow magically take the market share of search. They wouldn't be able to both do that and maintain the infrastructure at the bottom level that is required to even make that happen, which is where Google would always remain dominant. So I hope that makes sense. But they just always have the infrastructure no matter what we do to start searching stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I just one point. Human beings don't really care, so I think that if someone's able to do an interface that works, they're not going to care really if as long as they get an outcome that satisfies them. I think that Google's vulnerable in the sense, Google's got a lot more going on than its search, but just because Google actually might give you a more thorough result, but I don't think they give the better result. I think the quality of Google search has gone down in the past couple of years. I'd love to hear your perspective, Juan.
So
I
so
think so.
go ahead,
John
Andy.
Carlo, give me a quick second. So the first thing I want everyone to understand, or if you don't know this, when you think of a data center and you think of a rack unit in a big stack of them, right? You think of a independent little computer system that is all plugged together and networked together. That's not the way the Google data centers are built. They're basically open racks with just backplane, CPU, and one little network card so that they can do massive processing on one side. And on the other side is simply a open backplane, which is the motherboard on a server. It's a backplane with a CPU and connected to a data set that will store the data and then run it into their giant data bank in the back. It's only two parts, and they run the whole data center operates like one massive computer system with thousands of CPUs, thousands of different storages, and massive amounts of software to bifurcate all of that information, outbound checks and walls, load balancing on the incoming server sets, caching all of the outputs that go out. That's why it's so fast, is because you're not the first person who searched for whatever Zelensky and Trump's video, and now it's just indexed, a billion page views. It's already curated the top 25 responses, and it just pumps that that page is already preloaded. As soon as you start typing in Zelensky, it loads it ready to send to you, and it starts pre-sending parts of it. And when you hit the enter button, it goes rest, boom, done. That's why it's so fast, because it's predictive analysis is figuring out what you're asking for. That's why when you hit tab or stop typing it, it anticipates the rest of what your search is. And then the second part is Google, because it has all that data, it's just changing. The only thing that's going to change is that instead of the web page that has a search box in the middle with a couple of buttons and a general URL entry point, which I forget what they call it, but it's something cool. That is going to be the same thing, but instead of you getting a list, it's going to eventually give you a choice. You want the answers? You want a list of stuff to go check. Or it's going to give you two windows, or it's going to give you both. And most likely it's going to do kind of what Perplexity does. Here's your answer, and then here's the links where we got it from, and you can click that list and then go to the original sources. But something along those lines. But Google's not dead, though. The way that we used Google 2 years ago is dead. That's gone. That's going to be a decreasing amount of activities. But how we use Google, or Google itself, it's not going away. Giancarlo, what's up?
Nothing. Honestly, we're just on the same brainwave here. If anything, I would only say that if anything, um, Perplexity, OpenAI, all these other potential search competitors, right? Maybe they end up being like the better vehicle on the highway, but Google owns the highway, and Google will always have that highway, in my opinion. There's a reason why they were able to knock out Yahoo and Bing and Ask Jeeves and all these other things that came before them. It's because of the infrastructure. And thank you, Andy, for explaining some of how their actual internal stuff works, because that's exactly why they work. One last note on that too is it's also less about the consumer. I agree to your point, Andy, that I'm sorry, John, that the consumer doesn't care as long as it works. But that's also part of the point, right? ChatGPT was just down like 4 times in the last 2 months. I can't remember the last time Google was ever down, and if it was for something small, or like a small page, or a very very minuscule event. And then I had another point, but I'll wrap it up there.
Yeah, no, that'd be earth shattering if Google went down. I think that would cause a lot of people to be very, very concerned. And yeah, I did not know the exact technical way that Google does that. So in other words, also it would be next to impossible for any of the competitors to to create what Google has in terms of infrastructure. They just don't have the money or the competence.
Yeah, they can't. Because okay, so Google, like I said, everybody else still has racks and servers and individual servers connected together. Google just took all the casings off the outside, runs air conditioning from one end to the other end, and then runs every one of their racks is essentially a motherboard and a CPU. And it doesn't do anything else. It just processes. And so it's essentially like, it literally is like the whole building, that whole room is like one big, massive back-end computer, like hard iron computer that you build the virtual machines on top of. Like we do VMware boxes, you buy these big servers, and then you put some core software level on it, and then you build the virtual machines on top. That's essentially what they've done. Amazon is the closest, by the way. AWS, they have a similar architecture, but not exactly, because they're more focused they're not focused in the constant absorption of new data, caching, processing, and curating that data. They're just building virtual machines and routing traffic. And that's what Amazon is. So you can imagine the data. If you know anything about data center architectures, that's going to make it eventually kind of move in a slightly different direction. But those are what's happening. Hey, Sanan, I see you have your hand up. I'd love to. Yeah. By the way, the reason I'm inviting everybody up is because yesterday I spoke. John and I answered questions for an hour, and nobody wants that. We have kind of limited time today. I'd rather have you guys talking and me commenting.
No, 100%. I love when you are breaking down things into the details and stuff. And hey, what's up, John, Andy, Giancarlo, Team Wazoo, everybody else? I'm like huge fan of Google, everything they produce. Even I'm like really pissed on many things they're producing. Since the time of the Alta Vista versus Google when it appeared. But there are multiple problems that Google is facing, like literally right now. So DOJ, the antitrust rule, if they take Chrome from the Google will be like heavily fucked up. On the other side, if they force Google to open the App Store, where on the Android you will not have preloaded all of the apps they're selling to you, like Google Calendar. Instead, you can use something else or whatever. That's also another game changer, because the search engine in general, how it works, it's inlining all of the platforms that are using it. And you can see this clearly through the Gemini. Like if you're using it in a Google Suite, you can see it through the document when you're combining, through the spreadsheet, and so on and so on. And another thing that I'm finding interesting is that almost after a year, Google still didn't define the pricing for the Gemini, for their AI, and that's something really, really fascinating. I think Perplexity is waiting for this, and in my opinion, they're the best bet against Google search solution, let's say, or a system, because they really, I don't know, they really give you everything in one place, and I think that's what people are looking for. I don't want to use like 10,000 apps. I want to have everything in one app if possible. Google is Pixel is not going to be a phone we are used to use. It will be way above any other phone that we know on the market. And here is why. It is going to be fully integrated with an AI. So it's not going to be a phone I'm using, it's going to be personal assistant device. So I think these transitions and these stuff, we really need to pay attention to how Google is performing right now, why many things seems to be out of their focus, and then what's the true value they're going to bring in the entire market. Let's not forget that they're like literally all of the scale, B2B, B2C, B2B2C, D2C, and so on and so on. Like that's huge, massive, like mega, ultra complex, like Jesus, it's so enormous. I think even when people are complaining, there is so many useless and not usable consultants there. I think they must have them, because of so many different complexities they've built. Hey, sorry for the monologue. Great job. Thank you, guys.
That's awesome. I just going to give everybody an update on the legal status of Google with the DOJ. So as of November, the final judgment and sweeping remedies. So they're waiting on the remedy phase. So we have a new administration, and that includes potentially devastating divesting Google's Chrome browser and banning exclusive default search agreements. Google countered with their proposal. So yeah, that could have a lot of implications. Andy, or we'll go to Kate, Juan, and then Kate.
Let's go to Kate. go to Katie. I think, isn't it Katie? Right, Katie?
Sorry, Katie.
Kate, I don't mind. But Jean Carlos, were you before me?
I'll just make a quick note. I just appreciate what Sonnen said because, going back to the concept of competition with Google, even if search takes any kind of, thread, I guess the Chrome browser extension, if that gets removed as the default, oh well. All it takes is for them to pivot, go into the device, the Pixel. They have that in the hands of regular consumers as well as a lot of businesses. Like they have business contracts to provide those as company phones. And then if that doesn't work for whatever reason, they just go into your home and they push their, I think it's Google Nest and their thermostats and the home device that's the Alexa competitor. So one way or another, they're going to figure out a way to remain relevant. And again, it's just because they have that infrastructure. So
Thank you, Juan Carlos. Katie?
I was gonna say, does anybody know why they want the minerals?
What? Say that again.
out of
Katie?
Ukraine,
Why does everyone want Ukraine's minerals?
I can speak to that a little bit if nobody else can.
Go for it.
Yeah, it's really just as basic as right now our semiconductor agreement with Taiwan and how that's kind of surrounded by the murky waters of our relationship with China. It's just basically this administration's way of kind of giving us some additional security in that frontier of things because that has been a elephant in the room for a while.
Right. So I was just on the phone to my parents about this, and I'm over here in the UK. And originally I was like, what on earth is going on? And I thought that this was to do with NATO or something like that. And then my dad says in the background, it's the minerals. And I'm like, what do you mean it's the minerals? So then I looked into it and I'm like, oh my God, it's the bloody minerals. And and I find it really interesting and frightening as well to observe certain strategies or strategic moves potentially to gain access or have control or get these minerals. But also from a bigger standpoint is, I mean, we've seen Elon Musk create an incredible piece of machinery to retrieve a rocket extension. So, I mean, one day minerals are going to run out. Surely they should be working on how to emulate these minerals in a more sustainable and proactive way, I would think. Anyway, but love to hear the room's thoughts on that.
Yeah, Katie, that's a good, wonderful observation. The bottom line is everywhere there's minerals, there is conflict. So in Africa, in the African areas where they're digging up mining, there are all kinds of political and unrest and economic challenges. In Canada and the United States and North America, where they're digging, there's political and environmental challenges where they're prevented from doing a large number of things. In South America, same thing. You've got political upheaval, unrest, and other kind of environmental and challenges. In Asia, right, you've got all kinds of things there, but you've got varying different types of political adversaries to the West. And so you have those kind of challenges. And so if you have an ally in a mountainous region that has lots of high quality minerals that are used to create things like batteries and silicon chips and other industrial machinery activities, that would be advantageous because you could create a mining area. You could get the minerals with less of these other challenges that are presenting themselves. Everywhere's got challenges, but at Ukraine, if they're an ally and of the West, maybe it's the easiest place to get the minerals from. That's kind of, I think that's kind of my thought on that.
And there's a lot of implications towards AI because of the critical minerals for chips and energy supply, huge amount of natural gas. Yeah, there's a lot going on with the Ukraine. And historically, throughout the history of the world, Ukraine has been a spot. I mean, I think that's where Genghis Khan ended his run, or the Khan dynasty. Shannon or Juan, and then Katie. Or Katie, you want to follow up?
I just very much appreciate everyone's feedback and thought process, and thank you, Andy. And it makes a lot of sense, but also, again, I beg to ask this question. I mean, if we in the world are able to make replica meat products, for example, and 3D print, um, surely they should then start working on how to synthetically make these minerals, and then also to avoid conflict and what's going on in this big wide world, because there's enough going on. And it's just such a waste of time and resources, and very sadly loss of lives when wars break out and everything else, because people are fighting over who will potentially get what when. I mean, it's tragic and all over the world. So I just hope, please God, one day that there'll be a different solution. But I appreciate you guys sharing and helping me understand better. Very much so. Thank you.
Yeah, the world's been the way. There's nothing new under the sun, and if you study the history of the world, in my opinion, the anomaly is when there's peace and prosperity. Often, uh,
Can I just say very quickly? Sorry, there is a difference nowadays where people are able to connect and communicate globally, to talk on platforms such as these, where the people, as in like we the people, can gain a better understanding, so that we can be more informed and educated, because they don't teach people about this kind of stuff in schools. As I'm a mom to a 6-year-old, and they just don't break things down in this way. And so, but back in the day, people were able to like hide really behind a manipulated narrative that mainstream media would put out. But nowadays, people are more aware and educated thanks to platforms like this. Um a- and and so I never knew about any of this stuff until now. So, and that's thanks to spaces, and then my dad shouting in the background about minerals. So I'm very grateful for these spaces. So thank you.
Thank you, Katie. And Grok is pretty darn good. I mean, you want to be outputs aren't always right, but that's another addition to the kind of changing the playing field, is that we have these LLMs that we can do a lot of research, and they're some of the greatest tools for learning. I mean, if you have any interest in history or what have you, you can get a great education in a short period of time with these things. Shannon and then Juan.
Hey, thanks, John. Don't want to be or go political, but I must say some things because of the recent space I was before this one. Unfortunately, I must say this: I haven't seen more stupidity in a smaller space in my entire fucking life. I know that vast majority of Americans don't have enough fucking passport, so they came to that space to talk about something without ever being seen, knowing anybody from that country. Katie, it's not about the minerals. It's about Cold War, and it's about first mandate, where Trump tried to create a peace with Putin. Let's face it. One thing that really bothered me on that call was America is helping people. America helped no one ever. There is purely interest, create the problem, and come up to solve the solution. I was born in Bosnia. Bill Clinton, the US president, sent a letter to the president of Bosnia at the time: let enemies kill 5,000 people so I can send NATO. America cannot help even themselves. Why they are not solving the LA problem? Why they are not solving the problem in West Virginia, where professors and universities are working for $600 a month? Why they are not solving the problem of North Dakota, which is like shithole, literal shithole, the poorest state on the planet? Why they're not solving the problem of anything else and so on. But here's the thing. Because we talk about Elon, we talk about NASA and everything. That's all full crap. For the last 15 years, International Space Station was solely financed and maintained by Russians. Yes, NASA sends these all shiny space shuttles and shit and everything. Russia sends ugly Ladas, but they are succeeding in achieving the same results with much uglier stuff. Now, since Ukraine was keeping the Europe Union as hostages through the supply of the gas, Putin stood and said, okay, what is enough is enough. Then Americans came in with the Germans and some others to blow up the Nord Stream. So Putin came up and said, okay, he never mentioned he wants to put Russia into the SSR or anything. That narrative is out there. I have plenty of friends in Russia. I'm not only doing business there. The thing is that all the minerals that Ukraine has is right now under the rule of the Russia. Russians are holding it. But Americans created, after Yushchenko and poisoning him, then that lady, I forgot her name, then all of a sudden some puppet came out. Same like happened in Iraq, in Afghanistan, and everywhere where they came to sell the democracy, when they came to sell all of that good thing about American life. But let's be honest, over 60% of the Americans are underpaid. I'm paying fucking Americans $25, $30 per hour, and I'm fucking foreigner. Sorry for my language, sorry for I'm pissed off, but I'm really, really tired of this X. X is a bullshit. X is a scam, bubble, and this is not the media. This is not the truth. People who are literally retarded are holding spaces and talking shit. How Trump was like bullying dude. No, Trump was literally proclaiming himself. He pulled in all of the media, and they were like bullying guy. I don't like that Ukrainian dude. I don't like him. That was completely not nice, not professional, not in any matter, gentleman's manner. It was a savage, redneck, a fucking pussy. And I'm pro-Trump. I love Trump. I love Trump. But I was extremely disappointed with that. So it is not about the minerals. It's about the product that we created. Now it's a time for us to take the rest of the minerals because we want to solve the problem from the Cold War that is going through. And now all of a sudden, we have the solution in one country. Don't forget that Odessa is of more value than entire rest of the Ukraine. I've been there. The ships that are coming from across all of the world, in this part of the world, after the Rotterdam in Netherlands, Odessa is the second largest harbor on the fucking planet. Minerals are just something so we can, oh, yeah, we can do this, we can do that. Minerals are secondary.
The 2 children are not returned by midnight, Hamas will be obliterated with rods from God.
That same scam account from earlier.
Oh, so sorry for me being a little bit. Sorry for me being a little bit, I don't know, annoyed and using the language and everything. But I found this entire meeting, like the entire disappointment in all of my beliefs in America and in a system, in the capitalism, and like literally in my own personal beliefs. I think this is the most ungentleman, unlogical narrative and thing humanity was able to see. Thank you and sorry for my monologue, and please accept my apology if I was rude or inappropriate and everything.
No, it's totally fine, Stan. And listen, we understand everyone has a different perspective, and we appreciate the fact that everybody brings their view to the collective, because I'm not perfect and I'm not right. Personally, I felt it was a bit of an ambush. I also think that Zelensky did himself no favors by the way he behaved in an animated and agitated kind of way, regardless of what the ambush was. And San and I know you and I have both been in meetings where we showed up and there were it was 4-on-1, 4-on-2. And the next time we came with 8 people and they came with 15 people, we've been there and we understand that. But it's not, whether it's a bully tactic, probably was, whether it was a total press conference so that he could establish himself, 100% it was, absolutely. But the way that you because you can't predict the situations you get in, you can only do your part of it when you're there. And he did himself zero. He created no benefit for himself by the way he responded in that. He made it 100 times worse. He made Trump look way better than he could have. He could have easily made the situation totally different by just saying, well, Mr. President, that's your opinion. I appreciate your opinion. And we're here to talk about these other things. Is there something else we can talk? He could have just, he could have maintained I don't even know exactly to say, but he could have maintained his composure. He could have held back. He could have sat calmly and responded in a gentle way and just said, I know I'm going into the lion's den. I know it's a trap. I know what's happening and I can handle it. But, we've all been there and we've all failed. Unfortunately, fortunately, all of my failures are not on tape being broadcast around the world instantaneously in every single language. So thank God for that. But I've definitely had that happen. Just not in. And by the way, the impact is a couple people and a little bit of work and a little bit of impact to a project, not millions of people and somebody threatening me with World War III who has the finger on the nuclear button. So that was a bit direct. Let's just say that.
And I got to take responsibility for the title of this space. Experiment. You put some things out there. Today's news was that. So I don't know if that's necessarily appropriate for our space, but
totally fine. John, it's totally fine. Totally fine.
Yeah, and the other thing is, people make decisions with their emotions. They don't make it with logic. And so it was hard. I think it's hard for anyone to watch that without having emotions about it. And yeah, I mean, the reality is there's 2 realities. We have a reality that is what's sold to us, that everybody agrees upon. And then there's a reality that those that us really pay attention or have experience knows what is really going on and what's going on to certain people. And the 2 are not, there's the 2 do not agree with each other. And based on all of our own experiences, we all have a different perspective from that. So yeah, Shannon, you can say whatever you want here,
And thank God we have people who aren't just like John and I living in California, making our own opinions. We have people who are literally all over the world. Right now, we have people from Europe, the UK. We've got people in Western Europe, Eastern Europe. There are people on this call right here from South Africa, from South America. It's awesome. It is a wonderful thing. And every opinion is valid and every opinion is worthy of time, because I know I don't know everything and I am willing to be corrected and willing to be enlightened with some other point of view, because maybe I haven't seen that part. I mean, I have traveled all over the world. Well, that doesn't mean anything really sometimes. I mean, I could totally be my own myopic using my own Western view glasses, which in my experience, the rest of the world kind of has the same kind of thinking. Americans are weird. Americans are the anomalies in the world. The rest of the world is not like America. The rest of the world doesn't even necessarily want to be like America. They may appreciate it, look at it from afar and go, yeah, cool, fine. Yeah, but let's just keep our own life together here. And so when Americans try to say, we're going to show you how to do stuff, that's a bit of a hubris statement kind of all the time. So I understand that. And I appreciate everybody else's opinions and questions. And thank you for coming and expressing yourself.
Before
Hey,
you go
sorry.
to the next speaker, I'm so sorry to interrupt. I'm trying to get my little one down, and we're watching Ratatouille, the movie. And I'm being told off for being on my phone. So I made a promise to my son that I would put my phone away, but I will listen to the rest of the recording because I see the space is recorded. But thank you so much for having me up here as a speaker. And for sharing, and it's definitely been eye-opening, and I'm looking forward to catching up tomorrow morning when I'm allowed my phone back. But rightly so, it's 8:45 here in England, and he's got a point. So thank you, John, for letting me come up here, and Andy. Oh, now he's negotiating with me. Listen, you need to watch these Twitter videos on negotiating. um, all right, thanks, guys. Thank you for having me so much.
Thanks, Katie.
Jessica, how are you doing?
Hey, well, I'm just, I mean, I just watched that entire thing. I don't think I blinked once. I was just like, wow. And there is certainly something to be said about the fact that, people need to go back and read history and understand, where a lot of this comes from, particularly with the Ukraine and with Russia. This goes back decades and decades and decades. This didn't just, pop off. And I think that it's really important for people to, really dig into that and stuff as well. And read history and understand, how things get to where they get to. But the speaker who left for her little, to go and watch Ratatouille, I think that, that her father saying the thing about the minerals, it's, yeah, you've got to look deeper than that. You've got to really outcome map beyond that sort of thing. Because at the end of the day, I do kind of side with Trump on this, and with my own country as well, is that this is about, preserving life and the humanity of it all. I don't want war, the same way that I don't want people suffering tremendously in this country either, under the guise of, whatever it's couched in, whatever slogans or whatever. And I think that, the last few years, we've really uncovered a lot of the BS, and we've kind of dug away and been like, oh, this is what we're really talking about here. I don't know. That's just my 2 cents on it.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, or whatever it is, I know people that, very highly educated people that truly believe that through conflict, humanity has gained some advantages in technology and stuff like that. And there's, there is an argument for these things. It's hard, I'd like to take the position of just kind of an observer without putting judgment. By saying that I'm right, then there's always got to be somebody who's wrong. You have to point and say, well, we know what we're doing and they don't. And when that sometimes is it it can be a no-winning game in terms of so long as there's always this us and them, it is going to go into with the polarization of things. Eventually the conclusion is very unpleasant, and so hopefully we can crawl back to a more uh congeal kind of a gentlemanly thing, but we'll see. And it's going to play out how it's going to play out. But I just think the one thing I really learned, and this is the last political thing, and we'll go to Google it unless Andy wants to say something, but with the when people get their emotions connected to anything political, it's, you know, you need to double check yourself and kind of see if you can have an objective view, because often you are being used and your emotions are being used for an outcome that wasn't your decision. So that's all I'll say on that.
Yeah, well, I think we're gonna have we have to go at the top of the hour, right? We're gonna shut down in 9 minutes. So, John, why don't you go to either the next topic or news or something? We can have a quick little chat, close up, and be done in about 10 minutes.
Let me I got to get my stuff together here. I have a couple windows open, so it's going to take me a little bit of time as I talk and try to weave. I'm going to do the weave, or whatever they call the technique of just killing some. Yes, stretch.
You're gonna stretch the time.
Yes, I'm doing the stretch and the weave. So okay, so yeah, so OpenAI launches Chat GDP 4.5. The news that came out of what people have looked into is that it's not super impressive. It's not exponentially more advanced than the other models. But they say that it's boasting 10 trillion parameters and excelling in multimodal tasks, and it's designed for enterprise use with enhanced persuasion capabilities. I didn't realize that. I'd be interested to see if anybody's did any testing on that. Developer.
Wait, persuasion?
Yeah, that's what it says. That's what it says. Enhanced persuasion capabilities.
Okay, we'll have to try that one.
I would like to find out what the definition of that is. Yeah, that's pretty interesting there. Develops. So what they do, they develop the AI models for research and commercial applications. Yeah, I did hear talk about that. If you're just doing your average thing with Chat GDP 4.5, you're not going to really notice the effects of the changes that they put on this model. But if you go deep into research and some pretty advanced commercial applications, then you'll start to see the difference from the other models. So yeah, because I think that's a lot of people were saying they were unimpressed, and then I saw that Robert Scoble mentioned that really the accelerated part of that is for research, heavy duty research as well as commercial applications. Any thoughts, Andy?
I'm still trying to figure out how AI can get the subtext to increase its communicative ability by 3 times. So words alone are 10% of communication. Context and tone, presentation is 30% of communication. Both of those together are only 40% of the total communication. Body language is the other 60%. So we're on an audio space. You can hear the words I'm saying, but you can also hear the tone at which I was saying things. Just like Shannon was saying good things, but he was pissed. And we could tell, we all know it, right? My question then is, how do you get AI to operate that way consistently? Because I can pull up Grok and I can have it go through its little audio versions, but really it's just a persona attached to a preconceived idea of how to respond as that persona. But I can switch personas in a blink of an eye, and so can you, and so can everybody else. It's called context switching. It's like if I'm talking to John offline, I may be a little more spicy than if we're on public being recorded, or if all of a sudden my mom calls, or if somebody from one of my technical projects calls. I may instantly switch into that kind of tone of persona to talk about those things. AI has to be prompted to do that. You and I can do it automatically. So that's what I was thinking when you went through that stuff.
Great. Yeah, and it does say that, there's a boost in it enables high quality marketing and product development on a budget. So I can imagine, it'd be interesting for people who are using the LLM APIs, if it does enhance persuasion capabilities, would that be something that they would tap into for voice bots or what have you, to see if there's any significance improvement in that?
Well, how'd they test it?
I
You know what I mean?
I
How do you test persuasion? You don't want to buy a can of tuna fish. Okay, let me have that chatbot.
well, the
okay,
way
now you want to buy one.
the way you could test it would be with the closings. You know, if you use it and you find that there's an increase in your closing ratio through the sales cycle, because you have certain bots in the sales cycle, or maybe even in the final sales cycle, you could find that, hey, you know, there's a 10% increase in closings. So that could be a parameter that you could say there's better persuasion within the LLM's capabilities, I would imagine.
I guess so. I mean, we shall see. I'm sure that at some point someone I think is someone, but is really a bot, calls me, and I never know that it's not a human. I'm sure that will happen at some point. So, I mean, Sannon's doing that right now with his outbound calling and his closing. Well, his closing are humans, but all the other stuff, the qualifying calls, the outbound calls, they're all chatbot. They're all artificial intelligence. So I'm sure that that's a value. Yes, Anna, go ahead.
Oh yeah, in terms of the persuasion, I just want to add, it's easy to do. So 9 out of 10, let's say, salespeople, even experienced salespeople, like seniors, VPs, are making mistake by creating assumption. One test I did with my team last summer, we got into the meeting. There was 12 of us, and I started, "What's up? How you doing?" And they were like, "Oh, everything cool, blah 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 blah." And I was like, "Okay, I never asked you about your hobbies, because there is plenty of us in the room, and I want to keep this in an hour. Let's take 2 minutes and share what you like. What's your hobby?" They all shared this, and that stuff. And one guy, they did adopted monkey. They found in the woods and stuff and everything. And he was literally taking 2 minutes to find a picture of it. Some other people were talking about kids and everything and so on. I collected from them so much information that I persuaded them in no time. The next question I asked them, "Do you guys know anything about the crypto?" Only 2 guys responded. And I was like, "Tonight my buddy is having like good crypto webinar. Would you like to come in and see it?" And they, "Oh yeah, share the link. We want to do it." So the persuasion, I'd say, and it's doable with AI, but I would never dare to test it in a real life, to be honest. You're trying to pull the information where you're going to pivot. That's what our bot is doing. After all signals are collected, it pivots where the other side of the conversation created the most stress, not only in terms of the keyword, but also the keyword in association with the business goals that we want to set. Okay, we want to sell you software. And I think persuasion is like super crazy thing. Last year in January, I held here course, scientific marketing and sales and behavioral science for the crypto guys and so on. Zoo was here, Liana and some other people. It was 21 day for 2 hours daily. And I wanted it to be like no other education provided. So in the middle of the course, I asked the room, and there were like over 370 people per day appearing. Sometimes it was like only 10, 20, but it was like a few days. And I asked them, "Do you think you are here in this room because you want to be, or you are in this room because I want you to be?" All of them, every single one of them answered, "Yeah, we like your space. We like what you're sharing, the knowledge, the tactics, strategies, blah, blah, blah." And I was like, no, you are here because I want you to be here. And I showed them literally for 2 hours, step by step, how I made them, every single one of them, to be there every single day. Many people asked, like, Simon, why are you not recording these spaces? Because if I'm committing my time, you have to commit your time. If you miss this, you miss this. No problem. And that was the lockdown. To not extend into this, persuasion is like, wow. I mean, it's a magic. It's a magic. And I think AI is capable to do it, but to what extent and a level, that's something I don't have answer to.
Well, every day it's going to get better and better, but right? I mean, every day it's just going to get better and better, and because every time it can learn, it can learn from thousands of inputs at once. We can learn from one set of inputs at once. It can do that as many sensor inputs as it has and coalesce all that together. We can't. We're limited in our inputs. But anyway, it's 1 o'clock, John. I know you mentioned that you might have to go. Are we going to have to end the stream and show today at 1?
I'm going to go on for another 5 or 10 minutes just to finish up this part of the conversation, and then
well, I'll be with you. I'll hang out for another 5-10 minutes. You go ahead. You take over and bring us home.
Cool. Thank you, Andy. So Sanan, you have your hand up, and also your background statistics. So I'd really be interested in hearing how that informs you on your ability to measure and track these very specific parameters.
Oh yeah, statistics in general is boring, but to me was like super. Like I think I was the most excited student in the room, to be honest. So I'd say when it comes to the data science in general, it's not about how good in coding you are. Like for example, I suck at coding. I'm really like, I think I was the worst when it comes to the R Studio, MATLAB, everything we use. I was the worst, definitely. Out of 700 students, I was the worst, no doubt. But it's about asking the right questions. Same like what we are doing with the prompts right now. So if you have a data set, let's say, of the people who didn't show intent to buy, or they are literally not interested. So you have data which is not good data, and you want to create something to figure out if they're interested, but maybe your message didn't work. Maybe you didn't try to like pull out, push in deeper for them to understand why are you reaching out or why are you presenting that. It's all based on similarities and neighbors. So how John is similar to Andy and what I'm doing with Andy. If there is a parallel, it can be easier to reach out to you and then go through the patterns of the similarities and neighbors and pull out the information or even to sell to you. Another also aspects in a statistics that is like, I mean, it's literally in many terms how people define statistics is regression. So it literally tells you what's the trend and what are the things you can rely on. And I believe that even our irrationality or impulsive side messes up or creates spikes in this data and these patterns. It can still be controlled by adding the parameters. So for example, let's say we are targeting somebody to buy Coca-Cola, and there are already known facts. First day of the month, 15th day of the month when they receive the salary. Usually people on the first day of the month paying our bills and all of this must be paid things. And then the luxury goes for the second. This immediately tells you when you are going to reach out to them. The second part is if they are weak spenders or weekend spenders. So are there people who spend less throughout the week, or there are people who do want to go and spend over the weekend. If people are spending over the weekend, means that there is more irrational intensity in their purchasing power. So it means they're more they're more prone to get into the debt, into the credit lines, to use credit cards. Finding these similarities between all of the customers and stuff and everything, you're literally getting the answer. So the question would be, okay, how people that are not interested in all to my product are related to the people who bought my product. And that's how you are building segmentation on a barrier basis. And that's something what Amazon created. Like, I think no one can be compared to them. I hope this gives the answer.
Yes, yes, it does. And also, what you said, that you are here because I want you here. And I was just curious as to like what you showed them to show that that statement was true, and what was their reactions to that? Because that must have been pretty interesting.
Okay. So when I started the space, only Zoo knew about it. Zoo, I'm talking about that scientific marketing course that we did have last year in January. So when I started the course, I didn't want to promote anything. Literally, Zoo, Liana, Keith, Mr. E, few other people were around, and I asked them, okay, can you post this? And they did it. When the first one started, people were interested. And I was speaking, let's say, for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and then I'll be letting them to have discussion, whatever it is. Each time I will connect with them, even they moved off the topic, I would pull out somehow so it is related to the next thing, next question, next stuff, different case studies, different approaches, different strategies. And I literally asked them, okay, what would you do? Let's build something. Let's try to profile, let's say, our group or our community of the users and everything. After the first one, I literally sat down and manually wrote a message to every single one attendee of that space and asked them, how did you like it? And then I just want you to remind you, we have it today. So let's go. If you have some question, go ahead and ask me. So I was constantly offering them help. If you have a business question, come over, I'm going to help you. If you are not comfortable to speak publicly among many people, we can figure out somehow to speak in a code and everything. So we will figure it out. People felt thankfulness and gratitude because I was using it every single day to remind them, to thank them, and to let them know that they can count on me, that I'm going to help them. So I gained their trust literally in 3 days. After the 3 days, we started rolling, and I asked some of them, hey, have you connected with anybody from the room? How things are going, like what's going on, what's up, and so on. People were exchanging the messages between them. So I will receive the message from Sanin, then I'm gonna send it to Andy. Andy, are you coming to the space today? Oh yeah, absolutely. I already messaged John and Jan and Zoo. They're coming too. It's going to be fantastic. We even did have verbal fight there between the guys trying to prove their stuff and everything and so on and so on. The entire thing was not me sharing knowledge. It was more me understanding them how to receive the knowledge. Then in the middle of the entire course, when I asked them, and they started arguing, no, and there were some people very tough on arguing, I literally told them and explained them, okay, since day one, I'm profiling every single one of you, like every single account that is here. And I'm pulling the dots that connects you. Oh, you like the AI, how AI can be used for this and that. And last year I was talking about qualitative analysis as a use case for the LLM and why it's so freemium for all of us. And people liked it. People didn't understood how AI, how ML and statistical modeling can be implemented in breaking down the behaviors. I was explaining, I will picking some of them, and okay, this is why you are doing this. At one course, I literally broke down dude's business in 2 minutes, literally telling him like, that's the bullshit. You need to figure out something else, because either you don't have money or you are spending all of the money you have for it. And we started to building and rebuilding that stuff for him. Step by step, opening them, letting them tell you how you can sell them, how you can manipulate them, not in a negative terms, manipulate. I was transparent every single day, every single thing I said, I was transparent. And then at that day, I was, okay, this is why you are here. Not because you want to, because I made you to be here. And of course, it was not negative manipulation or persuasion. They've been guided transparently to every single step, how they ended up there. And this came up, actually, that's how course starts. Jim also from our space, from Zoo, we did have this one very weird discussion, but very cool, amazing discussion. Which phone is better, Android versus iPhone? And I came up to ask him, okay, did you bought the phone to your son or your son bought the phone for himself? Oh no, I bought him phone. Okay, which one you bought to him? I bought him an iPhone. Why? Because I think it's good. Do you realize that you took the right from your kid to make decision? And even worse than that is that you cut him off to try something new because now he's stuck with iPhone. And it all started that not even 1% in our life, decisions are made by us. And that's how course start. With example, one day, I'm not buying groceries and stuff. I'm just like, it's not that I'm like super masculine or somebody. My brain is just not prioritizing this stuff. And when my wife tells me like, go pick up something from groceries, 3 things, I will probably forget all 3 things to buy. And she asked me to buy bread. I purchased the bread. She said, it's not the bread we are buying every day. And I was like, yeah, it's just the bread. What matters? But no, it's not the bread we are buying. Okay, cool. Let's eat it. Over the weekend, she was like creating the list. Can you go for the groceries and stuff? Like I need to do this and that. And I was like, yeah, sure. Just give me the list. You know, I will forget everything. I will even forget to go to grocery. And she was, oh, how about you picking up our daughter with you? And I was like, yeah, sure, let's have a fun. Let's have ice cream and stuff. So we get to the bread Iceland. The first thing I did, I asked my daughter, do you know which bread mom buys? She pointed out immediately. We pick it up, we brought it home. I was like, is that the right bread we are buying? She was, yes. So is she intentionally sending our daughter with me to persuade me and to tell me which bread we are buying? And based on what, he made a decision that that's the right bread we are eating. But now, everyday life example. And that's how course started. And I told them, pay attention on this. Think of this. Like, this is the most important part of everything we will go through this 21 day. And step by step, that's how I moved them in and how we created it. And it was so engaging, so interesting. It was like really real life experience. I think no educational content was ever built in such a manner or something like that. People were like literally loving to participate and coming back for more. Sorry for this like very long monologue, but just wanted to kind of extend on the entire aspect of the persuasion and stuff.
No, I mean, I love, I'm not as knowledgeable of statistics as you are, but I love to pull from statistics to understand the parameters of something that you're looking for, the max, the least, if you're going to get a percentage of what you want, and using statistics to break down behavioral actions through models is really I'm going to go and go down that rabbit hole a bit. And yeah, with the LLMs, I think maybe I could actually build some workflows that could kind of do that based on actions taken by people going on client sites and stuff like that. Do you have any suggestions on how to do that in a proper way?
Well, you don't even have to use statistical modeling or even LLM. So I did it through the people I trust. So for example, Liana is very connected. Liana knows so much people in this space. She's the host of her own spaces. She knows the people and so on and so on. So I tried to connect through her to her network. It ended up to the dude, he's a Matthew, forgot his last name, he's in Serbia, who literally tagged Elon Musk to come and hear and learn and stuff and so on. And there were some very, very big accounts that were attending. So let's say, I don't know who is the largest network here in this space. I will approach to that account. Okay, where do you need help? Oh, I'm struggling with this. Okay, I'm having problem with the negotiations. Okay, tell me more. How about this, and that? You are gaining trust through making it that people relies on you. So if I'm having problem, oh yeah, San help me with negotiations. Bam, I closed 3 deals. Fantastic. Sanin, I have this option. What do you think? Yeah, it's cool. It's not cool. It gives me the rights to be completely free to come and say, hey, Andy, I want to launch this. How about if you can send it to your network, ask some people to join just to evaluate it, what they think. Is it something for the market? And bam, from there you can explode. From the statistical point, you can literally find, okay, I want to bring Elon Musk into my space. Cool. And he's the largest network. People in his network have direct access to him. Okay, let's do this and that. Try to build out, I don't know, relationship, but pay attention to not get in people who don't need anything from you, because they will just come and use it and that's it. It will never go further. So that's the key thing to find in these nodes, or let's say data points, where you want to leverage really to go straight through with the knife, through the hot butter. X is small. We all have touched each other through other spaces and stuff and everything, especially if we are in the same branch. So statistical modeling or running any sort of the model can be literally run in Excel I don't know, not even more than 1,000 rows, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree with that. You can you make a lot of sense. I think that there's always multiple views, right? We are influencing our environment, but our environment and are influencing us. And unless we are actively thinking about how to manage that, it's just going to happen, right? So that's you make a lot of sense. It's also one of the ways how AI operates. AI operates by one instruction: predict the next letter. And so in order to predict the next letter, it has to understand the context of a word, the context of a word in a sentence, the context of sentences with grammar, the context of the sentences in different types of communication styles: scientific paper, educational material, training material, poetry, prose, right? Antagonistic language, positive language. It has to start building a context matrix by just predicting what the next letter is. And by doing that with enough volume, this is the basics of machine learning. with enough volume, it will come to build its own set of rules. And that own set of rules will be predictive of the environment that it was exposed to. So that's what Shannon is basically saying is you can do the same thing at a much smaller scale and get high positivity of the likelihood of those results being true. And that's that. Okay, I just explained statistical modeling in what 15 seconds, 20 seconds, but that's the way it works. And we can go through that. And I would love to have a deeper dive one day about what does it really mean to have a single instruction to predict the next letter, and what type of constructs would we as just humans just going through the, okay, here's the next letter, here's the next letter, here's a space. Okay, what does that mean? Where do you put that? How, and then at what point do you have to then reorganize things? Because that is very true as well. When we organize large sets of information in our house, let me give you a practical example, and then I think we'll end here, John, if that's okay. The practical example is clean your closet, or clean your closet, or clean your garage. It's got a bunch of stuff you didn't know what to do with. You couldn't categorize it. You couldn't store it anywhere. So you kind of stuck it in a space that is categorically extra stuff. And so now if you try to quote unquote organize your extra stuff by default, you have to then create a whole new set of constructs to determine what stuff is to be kept, what stuff is to go away, how do I keep it, where do I keep it, what's the purpose for keeping. And so you end up with adding all of these large amount of decisions just so you can figure out whether to throw that crap away in the garage you haven't ever touched in 2 years or 3 years or 10 years. But you have to build a mental model in order to do that. And so in a similar but very rudimentary way, that's how LLMs have to organize their data in order to come to some kind of conclusion. The difference between an LLM and us humans, they don't suffer decision fatigue. They can just make the next decision every day. There's RAM, there's a CPU, there's power, decide, move on. And then eventually it checks back. Was that a good decision? No. Okay, what's a better decision? Next, change and move on. There's no emotion. There's no moral compass. There's no other outside influences other than I am primarily trying to finish my own instruction. So I think digging through that and having a deeper dive on those would be a fascinating topic. So John, stick that in the list somewhere in the future and we'll talk about that. And with that, I wanted to say thank you, John, and I'm going to turn it back to you to close out today's space.
Thanks, Andy. Thank you very much. Shannon, I saw that your hand was up.
Oh, no, don't want to take much of the time you guys have to go. We can continue some other time.
Oh, okay. I just want to tell everybody. Well, I would love to hear your last final thought on that, if you have something.
Oh, I will just bring two examples or two things. So for Twitter, because it's so small, you don't need big data. You need right data. And I literally worked with, I think, somewhere between 50 to 70 data points, like only like that much. Another thing, when I did a couple of tests and when I broke down into the deep with the entire group, was the example of Honda. So many times we are forced to like things. Let's say I'm dreaming about Ferrari, but I'm not that successful to buy that car. So I'm ending up to buy Honda. I don't like it, but over time I'm using it. I'm getting used to it. I invest some money. I put new rims. I don't know. I put some decals and stuff and shit and everything. And I'm becoming to loving this car. Now this car is not, let's say, 5,000. It's 7,000 because I added 2,000. Superficially, that's what we think. The reality is that that car worth after 2 years, let's say 3,000. And that's how we forcefully are falling in love with the things, with the products and stuff. And that's what behavioral scientists are finding. So when you find, let's say, 50 data points that can connect people in this group, you can force them to like the shit you are going to say because they're limited to it. They don't have money to pay a consultant or, I don't know, do whatever. but they have the data that can be monetized, and they will be forced to come to your space to listen to what you have to say. And then you can use, like what we discussed, John, minimum value. Okay, I cannot monetize you, but I can use you as a loudspeaker. So go ahead and spread the shit what I'm doing, because somebody will hear, come in, and that's how I'm going to monetize the thing. So yeah, that's it.
So just a little, so the data points for certain cohorts, is there common agreed upon data points that you can go and say, let's look for these, or is it different for each endeavor that you're looking at? Do you define them per action, per situation, or is there within statistical human behavior, there's cohorts that you can group people into?
So I was using literally two brackets, positives and negatives. So let's say, I will just use an example, you and Andy. So you bought like an AI, you bought our hosting space, you bought are very knowledgeable and updated with the news and stuff. So those are 3 matching data points out of 5. Now I'm going to find the differences. The background you have in digital marketing and SEO is completely different stuff from the Andy's background in terms of the project management. Now I'm going to find other 2 data points that are going to connect these differences. So how SEO is connected to the project management. Maybe you are doing the deal together, maybe you're doing this and that, but that's irrelevant. That's the wrong question for the data set. The right question will be how you two can see this being connected. And you are connecting it here in the space. So you want to run the space. And that's the one data point. The second data point that can profile you both as a group, like positive and negative bracket, is let's say that you're attending other spaces, but one of you is participating, the other one is not participating. I'm going to assume that one that is not participating is recording, taking the notes, while the other one that is participating is provoking answers. So your space will be more rich. That's the 5 data points I need to persuade both of you as a groups and come in and say, okay, in these 3 points, here is how it's go. In these 2 points that are different differentiators, this is how it goes. And then you come in, oh, I agree with you, Sanin. I know, like you mentioned this and that. And then Andy, yeah, Sanin, I can agree with you on 3 points, but like the 4th one, I completely think differently, and that's okay. That's okay that we have different opinions. So it means I won you, but Andy is there. How I'm going to push the Andy over the edge? By giving him credentials. And that's how we are compensating. Oh, Simon gave me credentials. He's cool. Okay, I need to give him a credential, even I disagree with him. So that would be, let's say, synthetic data that you create. I hope this makes sense.
I'm glad.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. I'm with you 100%. Creating different cohorts, identifying their primary drivers, and then moving all of the activities towards manifesting or to exemplifying their primary drivers. That is project management, organizational management 101. It's how do you get a large group of people to adopt some new thing that they're all negative towards at the beginning. What we do literally exactly what Sanin just said. Sanin said, that's how we do it. And that's how you can get, 40 million people to adopt your platform as opposed to push back and against it. That's how, 200 and some million people pay taxes instead of saying, F you, I'm not doing it. Because if everybody decided we're not paying taxes, the government comes to an end. Just simple. That's just, they can haul everyone away. But if everybody says, yeah, go ahead, take me, and but what about all of my other neighbors, right? I mean, that whole kind of spirit of pushback, that is kind of a core United States American principle. And so for those of you who are around the world, fine. But my point is, it's groupthink for groupthink's sake. And Shannon is just saying you can identify some of those key metrics and then amplify your message with those key metrics and turn into getting a group of people where, 100 people show up and 200, 300, 400 people listen, and then 400, 500, 600 people listen to the recording later, and another 75 are watching the live stream, and another, it's all the same science. So appreciate that, Shannon. Thank you. And with that,
Hey, sorry.
I'm out. I gotta go. So
Hey, stay just a few seconds. And also, scarcity is key thing. I didn't record spaces on purpose. So I showcased the knowledge and I wanted to people to come and grab. So let's say that, like from the example, you want to build a space, you can have a host who is some serious player or whomever, like let's say Robert Scoble. This is not going to be recorded space, and this is going to be for private group. If you want to get into the private group, you need to sign up, you need to do this and that, you need to go and post 5 times before it goes, you need to go and reach out to these and that people. So this is because you just like, we people are super weird fucks, sorry on language. We like to be given things to do, like literally. We enjoy when people are giving us things to do. Even we will complain, we will do it at the end. And that's the thing. Okay, we have Robert here talking about some like nasty, crazy shit about AI that is going to revolutionize, I don't know, the entire fucking universe. Wow. Only few people are allowed to be there to hear secret stuff. Bam. You will create a demand that will skyrocket. And last thing, X, I didn't have paid account at the time. X literally tried to rag me, tried to like push me out.
Thanks so much. Sana, you have something you want to continue with?
Oh no, that's like, I was just
Well,
wanting to put like the entire as much as possible into the scope of example and then all of that persuasion thing.
I mean, the amount of value, and I'm so happy that I recorded this, because I'm going to go back and look at it and actually get probably a transcript of it and then run it through some LLMs to see if I can really drill down on it, because you're giving a huge amount of value with what you're saying this here today, and I hope everybody appreciates it, because it's a really powerful, and it can turn you know, it can turn an idea into something that has a lot of monetary value.
Hey, John, we can do this if you want. And I mean, John Carlos, Rue, Andy, and some other guys that knows us. We can create small group of brainstorming and building out from there. Then, if people wants to get invested, not like seeing it as expense, I'm paying for some bullshit. No, as investment for them building their own shit. You can start monetizing like right away. I'm not saying like you need to bring me in, not at all. Like John Carlos can contribute with huge amount. Like we did 2 spaces, fantastic spaces. Like no one is doing nothing similar on X. No one. Like telling you the case, this is what it is. Here is how you are going to use it in your business. Let's go, let's rock and roll. You have Andy with his background and stuff. Because I personally believe if I'm a specialist, I'm nothing than mechanic. That's the highest I can reach. If I'm a generalist, I can figure out how somebody can help me out to build out things, instead of me trying to push through something my brain cannot solve. Like just one personal example. I sucked at school in every single subject except math, physics, and sports. I almost failed, lost a year because of the arts. My grandpa was an artist. My wife is an artist. And when my teacher, who was a friend of my grandpa, asked us, okay, can you draw a creek with the stones? I literally pulled the ruler, draw 2 lines, and draw a few circles. Dude was literally pulling out his hair. He slapped me. Like your grandpa is now like rolling in his grave seeing this. You're not going to pass my subject until you improve yourself. But I just cannot draw anything. That's not how my brain works. But if you ask me something with the numbers, it is easier for me to speak in numbers than in any language I speak. So I figured out, okay, I'm not good in design. I'm not going even to push myself into that thing. But hey, John Carlos is good in design. Okay, Carlos, can you build this for me? I'm gonna crunch some stuff for you and give you some, I don't know, cool modeling where you can monetize your shit. And we are exchanging the goods. Then we realize that we can make something together. Oh, how about us building this? Awesome, let's do it. Let's say we have 0 cash. Let's build it on a side for a month or 2. Let's give it to some close people to test it, and let's go. And I think that's the value of this closed group. You guys should put in and really make people to invest, not to pay as expense, but invest. I'm going to hear this. Okay, John said cool stuff. John, I'm going to reach out to you in back channel. Can you help me with this? You have all of the reasons to answer to this person for free, because this person is already investing in the values you are providing with these closed groups, and then this group will grow insanely. And use the free spaces. I don't know, hey, to announce this, to announce that, to share some teasers and stuff and so on. Sorry, I was sharing like so much. This is just me like bursting with some shit based on the topic we are in. And sorry for me like taking these monologues.
Don't ever effing say that you're sorry for sharing too much. Here, you can say whatever you want, Sonnen. You know, that's the rules of the house, but that only goes for certain people. And yeah, I mean, I'm floored. I think that would be wonderful. I gonna get in touch. Maybe we could do a Zoom meeting, and or if anybody's got the time, we can discuss it further. That sounds great. And I think that yeah, I've got pages of notes here, and I always love pages of notes. So if anybody wants to, it's almost 2 hours. If anybody wants to say any last words, I think that today a lot was done, a lot was accomplished, and it was an interesting, you know, it was an interesting ride. I'm glad I was here for it. Uh, Juan Carlos, Andy, Sonnen, anybody want to say some parting words or thoughts?
Hey, I just want to thank you and Andy for having these spaces and everybody being here. And I want to apologize once again for the previous session when I was a little bit. I mean, I was really pissed off
Don't shut the
about some
fuck
stuff.
up. Shut the fuck up.
No, I mean it's your space. I don't want to people to go or leave because they hear partial thing and say, "Oh,
You
you
know,
guys is like mumbling and stuff." That's why I'm saying it. And yeah, thank you guys. This is fantastic, awesome.
I mean, you know, we all have our own experiences, and I think that I just you know, certain people have people need to express what they're thinking, and people that are thoughtful and intelligent and give a shit about themselves and their family, and you should have a room where everybody can that's how things are in a place that has a certain rules where everybody has to address each other in a reasonable way in any tone that your emotions bring. But I've been in situations where there's rules to engagement and my mind has been changed, and that rarely happens. It doesn't happen on Spaces, but I mean it's good to have a space that it can happen. So I think that's hugely important because, yeah, like Andy says all the time, I don't know what I mean, you might really believe what you believe, and then you find someone who you respect who tells you something that's completely contrary to your belief system, and you know the person and you understand them, and you then contemplate, I might be wrong, and I might have been wrong my whole life. And I think that's an important that contributes to a greater society to have those types of places. And so I believe to my core that that's important. So say whatever you wish. You're in the club. All right. Does anybody want to say some final words, and then we'll close out? Juan Carlos?
I'll jump in for a second. Yeah. So if anything, I just want to always like to remind people. I consider myself a power user of AI. Even though I'm not, I'm not an educated person like Harsh or I consider Sana to be educated in the markets in general, but or even like Andy or yourself, John. I'm just the guy that uses it all the damn time. Though I mean, I'm talking 4 to 5 hours a day in between different models. Just as like a super user for everything I do in my life. And so my point here is that when you hear these conversations and you get to be a participant in these conversations, just speaking for anybody that's listening or anybody that hears the recording and whatnot, like don't get too deep into the complicated aspects of things. Like digest it, take it in with a grain of salt and be like, wow, that's cool. But then take all that information, know that all that's going to be distilled and packaged up a little bit easier for you to be able to consume and interact with in the future. Because right now, as an everyday person, there are 10,000 different ways that you can be utilizing AI and incorporating it into your life. And my point is that when you hear all these fantastic things about AI and we can all barely keep up with all the different updates, there's still so many use cases that are at your fingertips right now. And no matter how advanced AI gets, those simple use cases are not going anywhere until you become a master of them. So just wanted to let you know that, just speak on that. AI is the new internet, in my opinion. It's like the internet and Bluetooth technology had a baby. So that's what I got.
Awesome. Yes. And I think that, if you're using it 5 hours a day, you are, yeah, you're doing what most people aren't, and you're realizing the nuances and the functionality of it, and then you can extrapolate all of the potential to it. And so I think that that's huge. And I mean, I really love Grok 3. Grok 3 is really amazing, especially when it comes to with the think with the the think area, and then the deep research. You can really go into and I put a post on my account that kind of has a good thing on prompting, where prompting, I've leveled up my game on prompting. And you could like sometimes I'll put in kind of coding in the prompting. And then also one thing that I wasn't doing was I was explaining what I wanted the output to be like. So if you want it in a certain format, or and then totally focus on this thing. So it can really achieve amazing results in an extremely short period of time. And I'm constantly thinking of new things. I'm just getting reams and reams of Google Docs with various I mean I got another book together today. So it's not complete or anything, but I went down deep, and then I got the sources that I wanted to kind of emulate in the book. And it's not a piece of crap that's just there to kind of get email lists. It actually has value to it. So yeah, I refuse to do that. I've seen some people put out some total horrible crap, and I'm not going to be part of that. Juan Carlos.
Yeah, man. Real fast, you just reminded me. Have you tried to use Grok and do one or even just two deep researches, and then have it do a think functionality with the research right after that with a different customized prompt?
I'm doing that all the time now. I'm creating
Okay, just making sure. Yeah.
yeah, I'm creating very in-depth uh different things with it. And it's going. And then actually I have my AI tutor, and so then there's a next level. And yeah, I'm really impressed in what's happening. So I think today's I gotta get back to what I've got to get back to. I can't thank you, Santa, enough for all the value that you brought today, and the idea of what you said. I'm gonna get back to you, Juan Carlos and Andy. And yeah, if anybody has any ideas about anything, you can always DM me. And please follow me. I am AI John Allen on X and AI John Allen on YouTube. And you can go to my account. I've got some cool posts about AI. And that's what I do, because I'm an Aquarius. So I'm kind of ahead of the curve. That's where my mind goes. And it's funny, my father's a physicist who's, from Cornell, and all his wives were always artists. I don't know what that's about. Okay. All right. We're going to call it a day, and we'll be talking to you either on the flip side or the back side, or one place. All right. Bye-bye.
All right, that's the end of the show. Thanks. Talk to you soon. We'll see you next time. Join tomorrow. Join next week. Tomorrow's Saturday. So join next week on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We're going to have some guests. We're going to have some amazing things. So we will talk to you soon. Till then, bye.